technical metrics are not the only ones worth considering. Of the classic triad of security program elements, technology, people, and process, the latter two can rarely be perfectly described by a simple equation or diagnostic measure. Security program metrics try to measure the performance of people and processes, independent of the underlying technologies. We are now discussing measuring security program effectiveness. Security is about control. When we speak about security effectiveness, we are really talking about effectiveness of the controls in aggregate. Metrics promote accountability by quantifying the effectiveness of security processes. They tell us whether our controls are working the way they should by boiling them down into numbers. Nearly every mainstream IT and security framework assumes or requires that the practitioners implement reporting and accountability controls of one kind or another. As an organizing principle, we categorize the process effectiveness metrics along the lines of the four high-level COBIT domains. These are technology-agnostic domains. Planning and organization are processes for defining strategic security plans, scoping overall program budgets and levels of investment, assessing risk, and managing organizational and human resources. Acquisition and implementation domain contains the processes for identifying, acquiring, developing, and installing security solutions. Delivery and support domain are processes for defining service levels, managing internal and third-party access, training end users, handling incidents, and operating programs to secure data, facilities, and operations. Monitoring domain contains processes for monitoring systems, assessing the effectiveness of security controls, and supporting audit processes. Recall that asset valuation is one key component in ALE equation in the conventional risk metrics approach we discussed earlier. In measuring program effectiveness section, we'll focus on critical assets. These are assets for which an organization possesses zero tolerance for risk. We will not rely on any specific asset valuation method. The primary control objectives for the planning and organizing domain include defining the IT strategic plan and the desired architecture, communicating goals and direction, assessing risk, and managing investment in time, money, and capital. Without proper planning, the steps the organization takes to manage IT processes cannot be characterized as controls because operational activities devolved into reactive firefighting activities. Thus, planning and organization objectives keep an organization's control, generally speaking, from becoming out of controls. This table shows a sampling of suggested security metrics for processes associated with planning and organization. As you might expect, the scope of the planning and organization domain is much larger than just security. So focusing discussing on security requires us to scale back the set of objectives that we consider to be important. From the security point of view, the most important thing to measure are how effectively the organization assesses risks, manages security issues associated with the personnel, and manages cost. The matrix focuses on these areas primarily. For assessing risk, the process metrics we care about most measure forward-looking activities. We do not need to know how well a particular set of security controls are functioning, at least not as a planning or organization matrix. Instead, it is more important to capture high-level metrics that quantify what an organization knows and does not know about the nature of risk inherent in its infrastructure, people, and information. Knowing what you do not know assists with planning tasks because it identifies potential holes in an organization's security posture that affect an organization's most critical assets. Thus, the metrics for the Assess Risk Control objective answer the following questions. Do critical assets reside on systems that are compliant with an organization's security standards? Matrix as percentage of critical asset or functions residing on compliant systems. Has the organization reviewed critical assets and functions for physical and information security risk? Matrix such as percentage of critical assets or functions reviewed for physical security risk, or percentage critical asset functions with documented risk assessment. Is the organization prepared to handle compromises of critical assets? Example metrics include percentage of critical asset or functions with documented risk mitigation plan, percentage of critical assets functions with cost of compromise estimated. Human resource security metrics attempt to quantify forward-looking measures of an organization's personnel. As the expression goes, an organization's security is only as strong as the weakest link, and the people have been shown time and again to be the weakest link. Aligning the organization's people strategies with security goals, therefore, is a key control objective. Metrics for the Managed Human Resources Control objective attempt to answer the following questions. Are security responsibility included in job description and assessed during performance review? Matrix such as percentage of position description defining IS roles, responsibilities, skills, and certifications. Percentage of job performance reviews with the evaluation of information system responsibility and compliance. Does the organization face potential downstream issues due to employees without background checks? Matrix such as percentage of users who have undergone background checks. How well dispersed are security responsibilities throughout the organization? Matrix such as ratio of business unit shadow security staff to core security team staff. This last matrix, the ratio of shadow staff to security team staff, it reveals much about an organization's success in spreading around security responsibility. Nearly all organizations, including the one you probably work in, have a centralized security group whose job is to safeguard all information assets. At the same time, most large organizations have discovered that they cannot rely just on a single group of people to do everything. The shadow ratio, then, defines a way of measuring dispersions of responsibilities. All non-security staff whose job contains operational security responsibility count toward the total. In the case of our investment bank, the ratio of local security coordinators to central security staff is nearly 1:1. Keeping tabs on cost. Knowing what an organization spends and why it spends it is a key. Security costs are no different from any other kind of IT cost. Generally, these costs break down into two categories: fixed cost, including in-house costs that must be paid regardless of the size of the business, and a variable cost, those that vary with manpower or can be scaled up or down based on activities. This table shows common examples of each type. With respect to security, the costs equate to activities that operate organization's security system, operational, implement new security control to meet new requirements, new programs, get out in front of new business requirements, that's discretionary,